My question if I want you drifting away from me. I'm only so why you do. I'm saying I will never ever let you do that. Drifting away from me. Welcome to my sketchbook tour. Erasmus. What? Erasmus? What is Erasmus? Do I have to explain it? I don't know. So, the first page is a bunch of scribbles, which I did on bus. That's why they're so awfully scribbly. So here I'm listing all the things I need to pack, and also learning French vocabularies while doing so. And I was doing a bike tour, so I had to fit everything in this neat little backpack. Here, the vêtements, and obviously electronics, the most important things. Now here my trip has already started. Here I'm visiting the Museum für Kunst und Gewerbe in Hamburg. The one next to the bus stop. It's a very nice museum with applied arts and also photography. I'm not entirely sure if photography is an applied art or not. It might even be a Beaux-Arts. But this little dude was on a ceramic bowl, which was in the sort of the Middle Eastern Islamic part of the museum. Also this bird person and this nice head statue. Now the torsos over here were both of males, which I only found out after I drew them. Now this is an overly exaggerated female shape, obviously, but I guess this is a cat statue on the Egyptian part, and I think this was actually a Japanese Buddha statue, which was quite cool. The Japanese wing of the museum is very nice. They have a bunch of samurai stuff there as well, which I didn't draw. In the Flixbus, which was hell during the corona pandemic, whatever, because people sat next to you, and that was just frightening. Layover in Hanover. I know it's spelled wrong, but don't worry about it. Bus stop in Hanover. This was actually a nice, very, very handsome girl I drew. I like the androgynous beauty of people. Now this was already in Paris, as some connoisseurs might recognize. This is the Opera House in Paris, without any ornamentation, of course. And this was a rather nice situation in the Musée d'Orsay. They have I think it's maybe 1:50 scale model of Paris, sort of in the ground, covered with glass, so you can sit on top of Paris, which is neat. So this is the rooftop of the Museum d'Orsay. It's like these funny statues that look out over the Seine. Here's the Seine, over there's the Louvre. So in the museum I tried to do these RGB pencil drawings, but this utterly failed because I don't know how to do that. Still tried there, And this painting by Monet, it absolutely reminded me of the Wind Rises, the Ghibli movie. They have a scene which is the exact same frame. You know, where the girl with the painting stuff stands at the top of the hill, and then, you know what I'm talking about. It gets more blue and reddish at the distance and more green at the forefront. This was an interesting painting which I had not seen before. There's a girl doing her hair without showing the face, and it has these nice ripples in the hair, which I try to capture, but the arms get a bit too thick. And horses, how do they work? I don't know. The head looks like a dragon, but that's pretty good, I think. So very nicely abstracted. This is cool as well, but I'm not a fan of the line work here because it's too fragmented. But it's nice. This is also interesting. This was a statue, I think. It's obviously floating without any background, and that's, well, some might not like that, but and the face is not very delineated. This is the actual face only. So this should have been removed. Maybe if I put white on top of it, let's see. If that helps. Maybe a little bit? No, not too sure. Yeah, some architecture perspectives which didn't work out very well. Also the statue. I like the highlights of the pink on red. This was just a random doodling in the streets while I was having a nice Chinese bowl of something or other. This was fully packed with all sorts of stuff. This was not a soup, not a ramen, but it had actually like a salad type of vibe, and was also packed with chicken or something like that. It was delicious and very fresh. You could taste the freshness. So, jour 2, the second day of my French excursion, of my life-threatening adventure into the life of a Frenchman without any actual knowledge of the damn language. Anyway, it is rather pretty. This was the Port District in Paris. Now, I didn't stay in Paris very long. I soon moved on to another town, but here we are still in Paris. You see this I thought was interesting because it has the Haussmann Boulevard on the one side, and this sort of new tech, I think it was a cinema or TV company, sort of the headquarter park on the other hand. It's a nice split of the generations. This probably was the battlements, in wartime, your protection ring, and this has sort of now been turned into greenery by all the urban planners. La Défense, the business and finance center of Paris. I didn't go in, I just watched from the outside. And now I move on from Paris. I took the train to Orléans, and from there with my bike. This is where I slept, with the nice view of a fishing village. This was a really nice spot, though I had to fight like hell to get to it. So next day, I made a stop in Loire, which is one of the loveliest towns I've ever seen. I had a quick look into the interior, but didn't remain there because it was morning and I still had to crack on to my next target. Although I bought some refreshments and food, and I had a little break there. But over there, behind, I crossed the river here and then continued on the other side to this awesome castle. I forgot the name, but well, people know it. I think it's very famous. It's up on a hill. And this is the inner courtyard here, but it has a very, very long sort of plateau up on the hill with nice gardens and stuff like that, and a lot of complementary and secondary buildings, sort of stables, and a big artistic installation in the garden, which I not particularly enjoyed, but the circulation of the space wasn't up to my liking. You would always hit dead ends and not be able to have a promenade. You always have to backtrack, and I don't like backtracking. I hate it. This was a nice view from the terribly layouted garden of the castle. And now I'm in Tours, where I slept in a tree very high up, which was awesome. It was really windy. I had to stay one day in Tours because I had an online meeting with my professors on the other side of Europe. Or rather in the middle of Europe, but whatever. And from there I took the train to Nantes, because my back hurt. And from there I took the train to Nantes, because I was terribly tired and couldn't bear the weight of my big backpack. And I couldn't bear the weight of my backpack, which was slowly crushing my spine. Anyway, I tried to draw a friend of mine. It didn't work out very well. She looked like a Russian witch. Doodle doodle doodle, Version Architecture. Right. And that day I was visiting the Ville Radieuse by our beloved Le Corbusier. One thing which stood out was his treatment of the surfaces. Always using concrete, but in a very sophisticated manner, where he would sort of make hatching with the concrete, as I tried to do in this quick little sketch here. How many different surfaces you can create with concrete was striking. This is awfully wrong proportioned, because it's way bigger than... I met a little girl there. She approached me and asked me to draw her, so I did. She was called Naomi. She pronounced it differently, but... I was thinking about why bridges are so monofunctional and why they can't be more inhabited. Obviously, there are historic examples of inhabited bridges, but still. Not very many. This was a Japanese garden I went to, but oh yeah, it's on the other page. So the castle of Nantes. I really like how this gate came out and the hatching of the trees. Focus up, my boy. Yep, I really like that. And then my package arrived from my mother. She sent me some colors, some gouache, which I readily tried out. This was the Japanese garden I was talking about earlier, and then on the other side of the page, a friend of mine did a drawing of the restaurant we were sitting in, the lieu unique, je pense ça s'appelle, mais je ne sais pas. Lieu, or in my building where I live, there's a couple, and the girl is in a wheelchair, and the guy is a black dude, and he's always on a skateboard, and they always have beer and smoke, and I want to be their friends, but yeah. I'm a bit too shy to ask them. Here I probably got drunk and did some gouache and Copic marker mix use type of situation. I really like how the torso came out. No, that's not going to work. Nausicaa. I think we all know. I think we all love the Ghibli films. This is a universally accepted fact of the universe that they are great. So I did some frame paintings. I want to do The Wind Rises, but I haven't gotten around to that. This is probably my favorite frame from the movie, where she sits in her little laboratory, surrounded by these nice plants. It's obviously a sad scene, but it's quite beautiful. The lighting especially is also very nice. Landing in the desert with the glider. Yeah, that's not a very good face over there. This is Nantes from the standpoint of the university. Well, not the university, but the island on where the university is placed. And here's the Jules Verne Museum. This is a quartier I haven't been in very, very much, so it's something I want to explore further. More people, I do that when I'm, well, sitting somewhere in public and looking at people. Tried to do some porn, but didn't really work out. It's very rough sketches anyway. But I think the face really looks a bit Picasso-esque, which is interesting. It has this childish approach, but still the perspective and everything. I don't know. This is the dude that made the atom bomb. Finding? I don't know. A bridge in Nantes, which is huge. It doesn't really come out at the drawing very well, but the thing is huge. This was a really nice situation. There was some, I think they must have been twins, because they almost looked identical. They had the same clothes. They had very fancy clothes. They had some white collar and these almost onesie type of wetsuits, but fancy dress wetsuits, so not in the normal wetsuit fabric, but in a nice kind of fabric, but they look like wetsuits anyway. They were playing at the playground. So, and then I visited the Natural History Museum in Nantes, which is very small, but quite nice. I think I spent 5 hours there or something. Some ridiculous amount, because I was drawing quite a lot. There, as you see here, some deer, some birdies. I think this is really cool. It's the dynamic and speed of the bird. Even more so than this wishy-washy thing, which I did actually later, when I was already out of the museum. I tried to do some animals in motion, because of these were obviously dead and stuffed. Some snakes. Unfortunately, I colored it later, so I closed the book and then the color splashed onto my lion, which is unfortunate. Yeah. These things happen. I messed up here a little bit, so I put a sticky note on top. It's really hard doing these bone structures because they're so delicate. You have to look which is on top and which is below, especially if you do this in marker and fine tip pens. Some architecture that didn't finish, just did the outline. Some cat faces. Cars. I was bored, went out, wanted to drew some cars. A Mini, and this was a Volvo. I think it turned out okay. throwaway page with some notes. These I did while watching some documentaries. I don't know where the idea of this car came, but I think I wanted to do an Apple car, but it doesn't look anything like Apple. It's a bit Cybertruck inspired, I feel like now, but it's obviously a sort of a beach or an off-road vehicle because it's such a high clearance of the ground. Did some people, not actual people, imaginary people. Questions about modernism, right? I read a book about modernism and wrote down things I didn't know about modernism. I was sitting in the park, and this was the park, and I envisioned the building sort of clinged onto the edge, because there's over here in the background is the river, the Loire, and then they have these little dry docks where they used to build ships, and now it's a public park, and I thought it'd be nice to have these little tiny container homes stuck onto the side, sort of cantilevering out. Yeah, This year I did drunk. I got really drunk that day and drew some wizards throwing fire. But this I quite like. It turned out okay. Also with the foreshortening of the legs and everything. I like it. And when I'm drunk, I tend to be a bit more violent with with the pencils and with the lines as well. But it's always an interesting, messy example. So there's some shadow over here, so go hard. But the line work is also interesting because it's not so hesitant. You see sort of the dynamic in it, I feel. But yeah, whatever. Sadly, the page got stuck here. It's a self-portrait of me, myself. And because there actually I drew and painted so hard that the page got some holes in it, so I had to stick this other paper on the page to glue it on. And so yeah, I went full out with the gouache, and this was not a self-portrait. I think there was also sort of an imaginary hat, but it looks squashed, I think, like a midget. Anyway, moving on. Some legs. Those are my legs. With very biggie, quite big socks. Yeah, that's pretty good. I quite like that. Some balloons. Once you start painting with color, you can't really stop because there's always some color left, and then, because you don't want to waste it, if you have already squeezed the color out of your tube, you need to sort of use it. It's just now we come to the end, and this is really where the university actually started, so this is what my sketchbooks usually look like, some notes and thoughts on specific topics I'm doing now in school. C'est tout. see you in a month or so, I guess. Or 2, or 3, or 5, I don't know. Bye!